10 cards rated, finger snapping. 10 cards rated, got your toes tapping. Hey everybody, what's going on? It's day 289 of the grand experiment, and I am flying without a pen today. I have no idea how I'm going to manage that. I really do. If I don't have a pen, I have no idea how many cards we've done. So let's try and keep track of it together, ladies and gentlemen. First card of the day, Fortuitous Day, is Peregrine Drake. That's a good card. This is banned in Pauper. For obvious reasons once you see the card. 5 mana, 4 and a blue for a 2/3 Drake with flying. When it comes into play, untap up to 5 lands. Now this is in a format, by the way, this is from Urza Saga. This is in a format where you could have, Tolarian Academy is one of your lands. Gaia's Cradle is one of your lands. That's nasty stuff, man. Obviously you can't do that in Pauper, but it's still just too good to be able to untap a lot of lands, especially in like a Cloud Post deck or something like that, especially in your Tron deck. I don't think you can do it in Pauper, but still, well, maybe you can. Is there a Pauper Tron deck? Am I going crazy? Is there a Pauper Tron? Did they pair those at common? I feel like it was so long ago. Is Pauper Tron still a thing? I don't know. I feel I'm going to look stupid like first thing today, but I just feel like it rings a bell. Anyway, Peregrine Drake untaps a bunch of lands, and that's too good. It's just, it's just too good, Cloud of Fairies might be the better card at the end of the day because it only costs 2 mana to do the same thing, basically. 1/1 flyer in that case. That costs 2. But Peregrine Drake is close behind it, and there's a lot of crazy commander tricks you do with it. So I'm going to give Peregrine Drake a... Ooh, oh my God, that's hard. 6. I'm going to give it a 6. Right there. That's 1, by the way. That's 1 card. So let's try and keep track of it. Is 6 right? Let me know in the comments. Is 6 correct? Next is Forbidden Friendship. I always like this card. I always like they're cute together. 2 mana, 1 and a red for a sorcery. Create a 1/1 red dinosaur creature token with haste and a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So kind of a dragon fodder, but you get relevant creature types on dragon fodder, but you get relevant creature types here, and importantly, a keyword ability that you don't get on dragon fodder or gather the townsfolk or other cards like this, So I think it's cool that you get a haste guy. I'm going to give Forbidden Friendship a 4. Give or take. I think there are a lot of like spell slinging decks in Commander that need to play creatures for some reason or another, or like red decks that are tokens based builds with like Young Pyromancer, or maybe they want to play a bunch of creatures for their gutter snipe effects, or you're playing Black Waltz #3 or something like that, and you want to play a bunch of spells in the mana or in the deck, instants and sorceries, so I can proc my guys that care about non-creatures. But you also need creatures on the board, and I think that's where these cards shine, and I think that you could play them in some Commander decks. I'll stick with a 4.1. I'll give it a 4.1. I like stuff like this. For the haste, I'll give it a 4.1. That's 2 cards. Next is, it's one of these. Abzan Battle Priest. I really like this guy. 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/2 human cleric with Outlast 1 white mana. That means you can pay the white mana, tap him to put a +1/+1 counter on him at sorcery speed. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has lifelink. So it takes a couple of turns and 5 total mana to make this guy a 4/3 lifelink, which isn't great, but all your +1/+1 counter guys, every single one of them has lifelink, a very powerful, sort of still underrated ability to this day. I think lifelink is wonderful, like very, very good ability in a lot of situations. Yeah, I love this dude in +1/+1 counter decks. I always have. I like Abzan Falconer as well. There's a few cards from Khans of Tarkir that work super well in these +1/+1 counter decks because they effectively have this kind of text on them. They're all very cheap. They're all lower rarity. Falconer is basically this, but it gives all your +1/+1 counter guys flying, and it costs 2 mana less. I think Falconer is the better card, all things considered, but lifelink's nothing to sneeze at, especially on all your dudes that are getting like a million +1/+1 counters. Lifelink will really put the game away sometimes. So I like this a lot. I'm going to give this a 5.5. I'm serious. I love this like cycle of dudes from Gons a lot. Next, it's Shivan Phoenix from Urza's Legacy. Only ever printed in Legacy, but not reserve list. 6 mana, 4 and 2 red for a 3/4 Phoenix with flying, of course. When it's put into a graveyard from play, just comes back to your hand. So this was a big part of the counter Phoenix deck for a while. Shard Phoenix was the more important Phoenix in counter Phoenix, but Shivan Phoenix had a place as a 1 or 2 of in that deck for a good amount of time. So it's just a reliable win condition if you can keep the board clear otherwise, or you can tempo your opponent out otherwise. 6 mana was not as much back in the day as it is now. And there weren't a whole lot of exile effects, especially in Standard. So this was a playable card for a time back in the day. And one of the, planks of one of the more notorious, kind of urban legendy decks of all time. Shivan Phoenix was a real deck. It wasn't an urban legend, but I'd say that it is in danger of being washed over by the sands of time at this point. But I still remember Counter Phoenix, and Shivan Phoenix had its place. I'm going to give this like a 3.5. It costs too much. You're not playing it Commander, but throw it in your cube. It's still not too bad, especially your old school cube without too much power. It can be workable. But next is Treasury Thrull. I feel like at one point I had like 8 copies of this guy. At one point I somehow had 2 different copies of this guy that were pre-release stamped. This is from Gate Crash originally. 6 mana, 4 white, black for a 4/4 Thrull. All right, with Extort. Whenever Treasury Thrull attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment from your yard to your hand. So a 6 mana guy you have to wait to attack with before you can reanimate a dude to your hand, before you can cast Raise Dead with more permanent types. The fact that it can hit more permanent types is pretty sick. This was a playable card in Commander for the first few years of Commander. As you can see, Commander 2015, there's a printing right there. This at one point was a fun card. And Extort is still like maybe my favorite mechanic to ever exist. It might actually be. I need to do that list one day. But either way, this was a played card in Commander, and I put it in a couple of cubes too on that format, back on cube, but it's not as good as it once was. I'm going to give this a 3.5 though. I'm going to do it. I still think that if you can find a good attack, it's got a great ability that has a lot of different targets, and Extort's always welcome, so, I don't hate the guy. But next is Tiller of Flesh from March of the Machine. 4 mana, 3. Oh god, how many cards is that? 4? Maybe it's 5? We'll call it 4. Tiller of Flesh is 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 2/4 Phyrexian Knight. Whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more permanents, incubate 2. That is not a bad line of text. It just isn't. That's not. You cast a removal spell, incubate 2, get an artifact. At the very least, get an artifact. Like, I don't hate this at all. I think we're seeing a lot of like budget Commander cards today, like the guy that gives all your +1/+1 counter guy's lifelink is a fantastic budget Commander card. And for 5 cents, I think you could actually do worse than this. This is not a terrible effect. You are going to be doing this. Not only are you going to be targeting your opponent's stuff with the removal spells or whatever, but you're also going to be targeting your own guys from time to time, depending on how you built your deck. So I can't dislike this dude. You really had to be getting real value out of Incubate. It's possible to do that though. So I'm going to give this dude like a 4.2. I really think that like there's a case for this guy. Let me know how you feel about this one in the comments, because I don't think everyone will agree. But I actually think this is not a terrible line of text for how much you're paying. 4 mana is kind of a lot for the line of text you're getting, but the line of text is okay at the end of the day. Guy looks crazy too. We'll call that 5. Card number 6 is Takklemaggot. Wow, okay, I haven't seen this in forever. This was printed in Chronicles, but originally released in Legends. This is 4 mana, 2 and double black for an aura that enchants a creature. Let's read the old one first. Put a 0/-1 counter on target creature during its controller's upkeep. If the creature is placed in the graveyard, its controller chooses a new target for Takklemaggot. If there are no legal targets, Maggot becomes an enchantment and does 1 damage to the controller of the last creature that it was on during his or her upkeep. Takklemaggot does not revert to a creature enchantment even if other creatures are afterwards brought into play. Okay, so let's read the Oracle text. Enchant creature. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, put a -0/-1 counter on that creature. When enchanted creature dies, that creature's controller chooses a creature this card could enchant. If that player does that, return this card to the battlefield under your control attached to that creature. If they don't, return this card to the battlefield under your control as a non-aura enchantment. It loses enchant creature and gains at the beginning of that player's upkeep. This enchantment deals 1 damage to that player. So are we more clear? No, that was actually just as many or more words. So you enchant something with this, it gets a -1 toughness counter every turn. When it dies, this goes on something else. Interesting that this appears to go from the graveyard. Return this card to the battlefield under your control attached to that creature. So if you have a Ashiok's Reaper or whatever it's called, like the thing that whenever an enchantment goes to the graveyard, you draw a card. Like you will draw a card when you kill a creature with this. I think that's interesting. Then it'll come back and attach to something else until it kills that. If there's nothing else for it to kill, now you get kind of a curse, you know, like it comes back into play under your control and then pops in for a damage every turn. That is so cute. I've always thought this card was adorable. Look at him. He's just a cute little guy. But anyway, man, Daniel Gellin did a good job with the Nightmare Fuel on this. But neat design. If nothing else, really, really neat design on this. And when you first play it, you target their Llanowar Elves, almost immediately kill it when you say go. And then it goes on something else. And I don't know. Like, this was fun back in the day. And it might still be good in like an old school cube. You know, another one of those. But altogether, it's not great. I have to give this card like a 3, mostly for cool factor. This was number 6. Sure. Number 7 is Mountain. It doesn't count. Savannah Lions. Savannah Lions. I'm going to break my own heart on this one. Look, I have to give Savannah Lions the honorary 5. I must do that. These are the Savannah Lions I know. These are the ones. Now, I'll admit that the black bordered one looks slick. That's a good looking Magic card. Look at that with the rounded edges too. Magic cards look so cool back in the day. But this revised one is the one I know. It's one of the cards that made me fall in love with Magic the Gathering and understand more about Magic the Gathering. There's a lot I could say about Savannah Lions. There really is. This is sort of one of the cards in some ways that ties me to Magic the Gathering. It's one of the cards I want people to put in my pocket for my funeral. I know that sounds like I've just really turned things here, but I don't know why Savannah Lions means so much to me for so many reasons, and it's one of the first Magic cards I ever saw in my life. So I wish that I could appreciate Savannah Lions more than the honorary 5, but we are far past Savannah Lions at this point. I hate to say it, but we just are. You can still play it in Standard, and it's good in the Cats deck. You need a 1-drop in your Cats deck, it's good. But again, we are far past this card being a quote-unquote good Magic card. So I'm going to give it the honorary 5 so I don't have to embarrass it and cry, you know, if I give it a really low score. But altogether, Savannah Lions is a card that means more to me than a lot of other Magic cards do. For a lot of reasons. So love you. You're a good cat. You've always been a good kitty. But we'll move on from Mufasa. That is card number 7. Next is Magma Pummeler from Innistrad Crimson Vow. This, I believe we've actually done before. We have hit this card before, so I don't have to do it again. So let's look at Mold Demon. A lot of old school stuff today, too. This is originally printed in Legends. It is reserve list. This is 7 mana, 5 and 2 black for a 6/6 Fungus Demon nowadays. When Mold Demon is brought into play, controller must sack 2 swamps or Mold Demon is buried. So you're paying 7 mana for a 6/6 vanilla guy with a massive downside. Sack 2 swamps. You'll have the 2 swamps to sack because you're paying 7 mana. Coolest thing about this is the Jesper Meyerfors art. I believe Jesper also, I might be wrong actually. I think Jesper also did the art for Elves of Deep Shadow. So he's done some iconic pieces, if I'm correct. But cool looking piece. Wouldn't mind, I probably would not want to have it on my wall. It's pretty freaky, but it's a neat piece of art and a cool looking Magic card. But altogether, this is a 1. This is a really, really bad card. And it's card number 8. Card number 9 today is Manta Ray. I'm wearing Manta Rays right now. That's a joke from Spice World. This is 3 mana, 1 and 2 blue for a 3/3 fish with Island Home. They tried to make Island Home a thing for a while. If defending player controls no islands, this guy can't attack. If you control no islands, bury this creature. Manta Ray cannot be blocked except by blue creatures. So a 3 mana, 3/3, more or less unblockable. Even if the opponent's blue, it does not mean they have blue creatures. If you're up against control, there's no guarantee that they have those. And it's best against blue decks, obviously, because if they don't have islands, it can't even attack. But you fix that with a shimmering terrain or whatever it's called. There's a couple of different ways to give them islands. But altogether, a neat card. Again, I like the design on it, but not great. I'll give Manta Ray a 2.1. Next, that's a rare score, a 2.1. Card number 10 today is Arcee Sharpshooter. This is from Transformers. It's 3 mana, 1, a red, and a white for a 2/2 legendary artifact robot with more than meets the eye. You may cast this card converted, whatever the hell that means. Oh, I see. It says convert down here. For a red and a white. It has first strike. You can pay 1 and remove 1 or more +1/+1 counters from Arcee to have it deal that much damage to a creature. All right. Needs to have a way to put counters on it, but you can also convert Arcee when you use its activated ability. It converts into Arcee Acrobatic Coupe. It looks pretty slick. I'd like that card. This is a 2/2 legendary vehicle with living metal. As long as it's your turn, this is a creature. Whenever you cast a spell that targets one or more creatures or vehicles you control, put that many +1/+1 counters on Arcee, convert Arcee back to regular Arcee. So that's how you get the counters on it. So it has to be, okay, you can counter this, or you can target this, and it gets counters. It's kind of neat. Whenever you cast a spell that targets one or more creatures or vehicles you control, put that many. So if the thing targets 3 of your guys, Arcee gets 3 counters, and then converts. And then suddenly its activated ability is like really good. That's cute. And the fact that it has first strike is better too, because if it's like a 5/5 first strike, that's great. Especially for only 3 mana. It's technically 4 mana. It's technically 4 plus whatever the spell you're casting costs that targets stuff. There's a lot of setup. This is so much setup. It is an interesting Boros commander design-wise, though. You don't always see, like, +1/+1 counters matters. You don't always see, like, targeting your own stuff matters, but I guess the better commander for that would be Feather, right? But maybe not. You know, if you're playing your Feather deck for a while, you want to throw this in the 99, or you just want to, like, take a lot of the pieces from Feather and make it into your Arcee deck. I could see doing it. It's a neat commander. I guess I will give this a 4.6. Right? Give or take. It's a neat commander. That'll get you a long way with me. But bonus card, why not? It's Breath of Darigaaz. Neat. This is from Invasion. 2 mana, 1 and a red for a sorcery with kicker 2. Breath deals 1 damage to each creature without flying and each player. If you kick this spell, Breath of Darigaaz deals 4 damage to each creature without flying and each player instead. So you'll take 4 damage to this too, by the way. Just throw that out there. If you kick it, you will take 4 damage. But in your burn deck, it's kind of neat, along with your like flame rips and obviously your bolts and stuff like that. You know, you're hopefully decreasing their life total faster. So it's actually kind of not so bad when it comes to that, because 4 mana to blow up most of the creatures on the board and hit them in the face for 4. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. It's each player for your commander games. I guess that's cute. But I don't know. Like, there might be times where you could convince me to play this in like 1v1 burn decks. And it was a card back in the day. It's not really a card anymore. but you know, an Invasion around that time, I remember people trying to mess with this. I can't give it too high of a score though. I will give this, well, no, I'll give it a good score. I will give this like a 5.2. I will give it a 5.2. You know, if you pay 4 mana, it's like a Mizzium Mortars, kind of. And like, that's pretty good. So, you know, it's a red sweeper that doesn't cost all the mana in the world. It doesn't hit flyers, but like that could benefit you. You could play some dragons or other flyers or whatever in your red deck. And bada bing, you know, your Locust God deck, you're making a bunch of like 1/1 flyers, you know, just hit this, blow up most of the creatures. Let's go. You know, get a 1/1 flyer when you cast it too in your Locust God deck. That's cute. I like it. So yeah, 5.2, and maybe it deserves higher than that. I don't know. But anyway, guys, that is all the cards for Tuesday. That's all the cards for Tuesday. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's probably offensive to like 3 people watching. I love doing British accents that aren't actually British accents. They don't exist anywhere in England, but that's what makes them funny to me. Anyway, guys, I love you all. Bye.